Okay, in yesterday's session, we discussed about ERP. What is ERP? What are the advantages of using ERP? And what is SAP ERP? And how it is different from other third-party ERP softwares. And how integration helps to run the organization efficiently when the organizations use ERP softwares. And also we discussed about OLTP system and OLAP system. So can you tell me one example for OLTP system?
SAP, SAP ERP.
SAP ERP. Okay, SAP ERP is one example for OLTP system where uh, transactions, daily transactions will happen, right? And what is OLAP system?
It is used for
Analytical
Yeah,
analytical
processing.
purposes.
yeah. OLAP system used for analytical purpose, analyze the data for
Okay.
decision making,
Decision making.
right?
Yeah,
Analyzing all the data, maybe
yeah,
historicals.
maintains the historical
Yes,
data to analyze the business performance.
yes. So, but in OLTP, we maintain only operational data.
Is
Maybe,
current data only.
yeah, maybe last 4 years data, 5 years data, depends on the company policies. But no company will maintain historical data in OLTP systems. They'll take some backups and archive that data from the OLTP system. Okay, archive means deleting. And we have also seen the process of transferring or copying operational data to OLAP. For that, we use ETL, extraction, transformation, and loading. So there are a lot of ETL tools which handles this data transfer. So in SAP, OLTP is SAP ERP and OLAP is SAP BW, right? Example for OLAP system, SAP product, we have SAP BW. So SAP BW has its own ETL tool which will copy or extract. The right term is extract. So BW extracts data from SAP ERP using its own ETL tool. Okay. Similarly, there are many third-party ETL tools. One of third-party ETL tool is Informatica. Informatica is also a ETL tool which can extract data from source to the target, right? So by using ETL process, operational data will be extracted to OLAP systems for decision making or to generate the reports. Okay. Okay. So we'll see what are the functional modules or functional areas available in SAP ERP. So what is your role as ABAPer, as ABAP developer? What is the role of ABAP developer? You need to work
To
with,
to customize or to modify the program
yes,
applications.
applications. See, ABAP contains not only programs, there are many things which where we don't need to use any coding and designing some layouts and everything. It's combination of different things, right? Applications, we can say applications, right? You need to work with, as a BAPer, you need to work with functional
Functional
consultants
consultants.
to get the inputs and design the applications, design the custom applications or enhance. the existing applications, create the custom applications, or enhance the standard applications provided by SAP. Okay, because SAP ERP is a product, right? Product which contains all predefined functionalities, right?
Yes, sir.
Just like when you buy a mobile phone, you can see some pre-installed apps, right?
Yes, sir.
They are ready to use, right? Similarly, SAP also contains all predefined functionalities to run the business. When you need additional features or custom functionalities, we can enhance it or we can create custom applications. Okay, and these are few functional modules in SAP: sales and distribution, material management, FICO, finance and controlling, plant maintenance, production planning, warehouse management, project systems. There are many other functional modules. So as a ABAP developer, you don't need to worry about these functional modules, right? We should be able to work on applications related to any of these functional modules, because in any functional module, to develop applications of any functional module, we just use a ABAP, same ABAP. There are little differences, minor differences in few modules, few special modules. They are very minor differences. Okay, if you know how to develop applications in ABAP, you can implement the same on any functional module by getting the inputs from functional consultants. Okay, and we'll talk more about master data and transactional data. So this is common to any system, any software, right? So what is the example for master data? What is master data?
See, for example, bank details we will take means what are all our basic things will be stored in master data.
Huh. Yeah.
Transactional data means it's like our daily transactions and withdrawals, deposits, like that.
So master data, the data which changes rarely, right? Example for master data: customer master data, customer ID, customer name, customer phone number, customer email ID, customer address. So these details will change very rarely, right? So such these kind of data we call as master data. What is transactional data? Which changes very frequently. Okay, what is transaction data? Transaction data is the data which changes very frequently. For example, transactions of the customer or purchases of the customer, right? Example for transactional data is transactions of the customer. How many purchases, whatever the purchases he did. So each one is a transaction, right? Okay, now please concentrate. So what we are going to learn, SAP ABAP, right? So ABAP is a module which we use to develop or enhance the applications in SAP, right? So SAP is a ERP software, and observe here we have different versions of ERP like released by SAP. The recent version which most of the organizations are using is SAP S4 HANA, not HANA, SAP S4 HANA. It is the current version of the ERP. Okay. Prior to SAP S4 HANA, there is SAP ECC, ERP Central Component. We used to call it as ERP Central Component. This is the previous version to SAP S4 HANA. There is very big change between SAP ECC version and SAP S4 HANA. SAP come up with a very big change with SAP S4 HANA. SAP ECC, see, I'll explain you in detail about this. Can you tell me how any system will run? Any software application will run? I'll show you. Let's take any example. Gmail. Let's take Gmail example. Every one of you might use or you might be using Gmail, right? Gmail or any other email application to access emails.
Yes, sir.
So we have a front end application, front end screen. We call that as presentation layer, or just in very generic terms, so we call it as front end screen. So otherwise presentation layer. What is presentation layer? When you open, when you type gmail.com in the server, what it will open? So it will open a screen, right?
Yes, sir.
So that is the presentation layer. By using that presentation layer or GUI, we can also call GUI, graphical user interface. By using that GUI, you are going to access your emails, right? But tell me, do you need to write or install any programs in your system to do like to open Gmail?
No, sir.
No,
So
sir.
you are not going to maintain any programs related to Gmail application to access
Data.
your emails, right? But how you are able to access those Gmail? Well, like first it will show you the login screen, and if you enter incorrect password, what it will say?
Wrong path.
Forget password.
Yeah,
Incorrect. Or
it will
forget.
display error message, right? Please enter correct password. It will
Or
display one
forget
error.
password.
Forget password is to reset your password. That's not error message, right? That is the next step to reset your password. But initially, when you enter some incorrect login details, it will display the error. How that validation works? How it is able to validate whether that email ID is correct one or not, whether that password is correct one or not.
The system will check from the database, like whether the credentials are.
Correct, correct. So that data, your email and password data will be stored in the database, their Google database, right? But how that validation happens? By using application programs. By using application programs, that validation functionality will work. Whenever you enter your login credentials and click on continue or login, that request will be sent to application programs from the GUI. So for each functionality, there will be a separate program. So that login program will execute in the application programs. This is a application server. This is a application server where all the applications programs will be resides. By using our front end GUI, we are going to send a request to this application server programs to execute a specific functionality, right? For our convenience, for our user convenience, we they have provided a GUI where we can click on some options to execute the functionality, right? Because we cannot execute programs in some editors, right? To get the output. So for our convenience, Gmail has provided in form of some options where you can enter the data and use some buttons to execute some action, right? But actually, the programs will be reside in some server that is called application server. Maybe different softwares uses different terminology, but these programs will be maintained in a server, whatever the applications available. So once you click on login, that application program will execute and it's going to connect with the database. We cannot directly access the database by using GUI. We cannot directly access data from the database. By using a program, by using an application program, we can access the data in the database. So what you can find in the database server? Tables. In database, we have tables. In tables, what is the use of tables? To store the data permanently. So database tables are used to store the data permanently. That is the purpose of database. It's not going to execute any programs or anything. The functionality of the database used to store some data in the form of tables. Okay, what is a table? Table is like this with the columns and rows. With columns and rows. For example, if you assume this as a table, table contains fields, employee ID, employee name, and DEPT, some department data, and the corresponding values. For example, employee ID 100, employee name. Like that, data will be stored in the table. Similarly, if you take your Gmail example, your credentials, your email ID and password will be stored in some tables. So when you execute login, one application program will execute and connect with the database. It will access data from a database table and validate it. It will get the data from database table and again validate here in the program. Is it the correct user ID or not? Whatever the user ID you entered is correct one or not. If it is correct one, it will continue. Otherwise, it will return a error message to front end screen, right? But here where the data stores permanently
in tables.
Tables.
in the database tables.
Tables.
Okay, in database, it stores in the form of tables, right? Now, this is same for any application. So that application should have a front end screen and that should have some application programs to execute the functionality, and that should have a database to store the data. Okay, you are able to access Gmails, your emails in your mobile app or in the browser, right? But actually, are those emails stored in your mobile phone, somewhere in your mobile phone?
No.
No.
No,
When you yeah,
it's a
when you open the Gmail, so emails will be stored in a database, and those emails will be retrieved by some program, and it will display in your mobile application, nothing but a GUI to access the data, right? So similarly, for every application, for every software application, it should contains a database. What is the purpose of database? To store the data, to store the data permanently, right? Now, SAP also need a database to store the daily transactions or master data, anything that should need a database, right? So now I'll tell you the differences. What is the differences between SAP ECC and S4 HANA? What are the major changes? SAP ECC is database independent. Database independent. So when uh, SAP is using SAP ECC version of ERP, this can run on any database like Oracle, Microsoft SQL Server, DB2, MySQL, right? So it is designed to run on any database. And HANA is SAP's own database developed by SAP. Okay. So prior to S4 HANA, in SAP ECC is a database independent ERP system. So depends on the customer requirement, depends on the organization's requirement. One customer may go with Oracle, the other customer may go with Microsoft SQL Server as their database. Okay. Later, they come up with the HANA database. So it is SAP's own database. Prior to SAP S4 HANA, so SAP used to use third-party databases like Oracle, Microsoft SQL Server, right? So after developing S4 HANA by SAP, they have designed a new version of ERP, that is SAP S4 HANA, which will run only on HANA database. So it's not database independent. SAP S4 HANA should run only on HANA database, because all the programs, right, all the application programs are designed to run on HANA database. In S4 HANA system, all the applications are optimized and designed to run on HANA database. So SAP is not supporting any third-party databases in SAP S4 HANA. Okay. There are a lot of changes in terms of performance, in terms of new applications, new features, everything when you compare with the SAP ECC to SAP S4 HANA. The current S4 HANA version is 2022. SAP S4 HANA 2022 is the current version of SAP S4 HANA. For every 2 years or 3 years, maybe SAP will release a new version with the new upgrades, new changes. Okay. Even though SAP ECC is the older version, still there are lots of projects, thousands of projects or thousands of organizations still using SAP ECC. They did not upgrade it to SAP S4 HANA because of their budget issues, business requirements, right? Whatever. So they are still using SAP ECC systems. Mostly you can find these ECC systems in support projects. Okay. Any questions?
No, sir.
So since SAP ECC is still using, and there are many support projects which are running in the organizations, so we should learn ABAP, which is compatible for SAP ECC and SAP S4HANA both, because we don't know, right, which project you are going to get. In these days, no one is interested to work on SAP ECC projects, right? But still, many organizations are still using SAP ECC projects. When you joined in the company, if you assigned with some ECC project, you should know how to write ABAP or how to implement ABAP, which is compatible for ECC. And also, we are going to learn the advanced ABAP, which we are going to use in S4 HANA. Both you need to have complete knowledge. Okay. Any questions?
No, sir.
There are only minor differences, no, not minor differences, but there are significant differences between ABAP, what we implement in ECC, and what we implement in S4 HANA. But the basics are same for both. Okay. Now please observe the architecture. It is very important interview question too. SAP architecture, SAP ERP system architecture. So it contains one presentation layer. It contains one presentation layer or GUI, where users can access the ERP applications, right? Here we have only GUI screen, no application programs or no database servers, right? Just a GUI screen will be available here, and there is another layer called application layer. This is application layer where all the application programs will be available, right? This is a separate server. The organizations need to maintain it as a separate server. Usually, these application servers will run on Linux platforms or Windows Server platforms. Okay, and there is one more layer, that is database layer. So, what is the purpose of this database layer? To store the data permanently in the form of tables.
Tables. Tables.
So, these programs access corresponding tables and provide the data to presentation layer in the form of request and response. Okay. For each functionality, there will be a program available in application server. When the user need to create a purchase order or sales order, there will be an application in GUI screen to enter the data and click on save. When the user click on save, a request will be goes to the corresponding application in application server, and that corresponding application will access database table, the corresponding database table, and save the data in the database table, or read the data from the database table and present it to the user. This is called three-tier architecture or R3 architecture. So it contains presentation layer, application layer, and database layer. So application layer, database layer is not going to run on the same system. Both will be maintained in two different servers. Okay. So database server is in a different server and application server is in a different server. Database server might be maintained in one office located in USA. Application server might be maintained in a different state located in USA, right? It is not necessary to maintain both at the same location also, right? So if you take Google as example, so how they are going to handle that huge data? They'll be having very big data centers. Data centers, nothing but database servers, right? Where they store the data. They keep few centers in Singapore, few data centers in USA, few data centers in Europe, some European countries, right? But as a user, you can access data from any database uh, server. That is not necessary to locate in our region. So when they establish the data centers or database servers, if they are large data centers like Google or any other large data centers, they need to consider many factors when they are when they need to set up the data center in a particular area. What they need to consider? Safety, right?
Yes, sir.
Safety of the data center. Is that area prone to more what we call earthquakes or not? Is there any dangers with the floods, right? So they need to consider all these things, and they'll set up the data centers because data is very important, right? They should run 24 hours a day. So they'll consider many factors before going to set up the data center or database server. That should be safe and secure. Is everyone clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'll try to show some basic screens of SAP. I'm connecting to a online server where we can access SAP. Looks like it is not working. Yeah, anyway, I'll show you tomorrow. I need to set up one proper server environment for you. Any questions?
No.
No, sir.
Okay, from tomorrow onwards, we're going to go through the system. Okay, uh, how we can access SAP, how to log in SAP, what are the different options in login screen, all these things we'll go through. Okay,
Okay, sir.
Yeah, sure, sir.
okay, if you have any questions, please ask.
Sir, is there any difference in between ECC servers and S/4HANA database in the terms of size and to store the data?
Simple. Since you are asking about size of the database servers, it's purely depends on the organization.
Okay,
Okay, because see like what is the cost of 32 GB mobile phone with 32 GB memory, and what is the cost of mobile phone with 128 GB memory?
okay,
There is difference, right?
right, yeah,
That doesn't mean that everyone will go for 128 GB, right? So
right, right.
depends on my usage and my budget. I'm going to take that specific product,
Okay,
right?
okay, got it, sir.
Yeah,
Yeah,
one medium organization will go to one medium size server so that
right,
they can save a lot of license cost. Software is not simple thing, right? They need to buy the
yeah,
license.
right,
So it's like most of us used to install MS Office or something without purchasing and from downloading somewhere. right?
Right.
But when they need to buy SAP, they need to spend millions of dollars.
Right.
It's
Exactly.
it's not a simple thing. Installing or implementing SAP or any other software is not a simple thing. They need to spend millions of dollars, right?
Yes. Yeah. Right.
Depends on their requirement. For example, one company might have only 1,000 employees and maybe uh, some limited departments, right? So they might go
Okay.
for smaller database
Smaller service. Yeah.
and smaller license cost. But if you take
Yeah.
any large organizations, they need huge database servers to handle huge data, right?
Right. Right.
For
Yeah.
that, they need to spend more money on that.
More. Yeah.
So that's why when they are going to plan to implement any product or any application, any software application,
Yeah.
the software analyst or system analysts, uh, they'll analyze the company requirement and the suitable version of the software, and they
Right.
go
Right.
for and they purchase the license and they start implementing in their landscape.
Yeah. Right. Got it, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Any other questions? See, your understanding on this SAP ERP is very important. So before going to learn ABAP, any other questions?